Good morning. When acts of racism are so overwhelmingly overt, such as the murder of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Martin, and so many countless unnamed people, it's way past time to speak up about Black Lives Matter. People with white privilege, so obviously people like me, really need to pay attention and listen to those who have spent centuries being murdered, neglected, maltreated by those in power. This isn't a new phenomenon. This isn't a black problem. This is a white problem. We who are in positions of privilege have the power to stand up to the perpetrators of this awful, destructive behaviour. We need to listen to the voices of those being persecuted for the colour of their skin and for their cultural heritage. So today I'm standing aside and I invite you to listen to this message from my friend and colleague, Nadine Benjamin.
Good evening, everyone. I just felt like I had to say something this evening. It was Blackout Tuesday yesterday, and last year I was in a room filled with educators in the world of opera, and I addressed the issue of all of us having to be willing to have uncomfortable conversations, because those uncomfortable conversations would help bring about change. So my uncomfortable conversation today is, there have been many times when I have been the only woman, black person under the age of 50 in a boardroom. And as the room fills, the two seats either side of me are the last to be filled. There have been times when I have been asked to talk about BAME matters, Black, Asian, minority, ethnic matters, as if I'm being separated from the norm in order to be managed. And there have been moments when I have been brought into a room as an unpaid advisor due to my race and gender, with the intent of adding value, and then not being recognised as an equal in the room, as everyone else is a paid advisor, which can cause one to feel disconnected. The time when we are asked to contribute on unequal terms must end. So I took responsibility for standing in my own power at this point, which took a huge amount of courage and vulnerability. This courage and vulnerability was met with embarrassment and went unacknowledged in the minutes of the meeting. Once again, I was left feeling invisible. So I'm not pretending that what we are facing today is not a real challenge. On one of my live chat sessions, my dear NLP trainer, Brian Colbert, kindly agreed to talk with me about the mindset and the narratives that go on inside our heads to create such horrific moments in history and in our lives. When we started talking about the late George Floyd, I saw my body freeze with fear as I remembered the moment, and for the first time I witnessed the trauma and the freeze response of my own body. I realised in that moment that I had been hugely affected by this tragedy. I was triggered with the vibration of my ancestral lineage, and the grief hit me like a dark veil. I took time in Blackout Tuesday to be silent, to reflect, and to let the tears flow. Martin Luther King said, "A riot is the language of the unheard." And while I don't condone in any way the route of expression, I realised in that moment that while I was in freeze, they were most probably in fight or flight, another trauma response. Weeks before, I had spoken with Darren Abrahams on another live session who discussed trauma responses and ways to settle them. Please feel free to go back to that if you'd like to, if you would find that helpful. I'm still recovering and feel great hurt and sadness that this can still be happening today. How and when will we move into and create a new world full of love, compassion and equality? For this we need to stand up in union and in humanity. My right is a human right. This is not about separation or division. This is about us standing together as one. I've had to find the courage to come back and be the person who connects, champions and celebrates. And then I had to think about how can we stand in active peace and live into the solution. These are my ideas and I'm open to what you may think. So some of these ideas would be to study what we don't know. I for one have a reading list as long as my arm. Write petitions, walk on peaceful marches, make a statement and stand in the highest form of ourselves. Empower our minds, empower our state of minds, and make sure you are in self-care. Plan your time, move, breathe, hydrate, meditate. Stop watching things that drain your energy and that trigger your trauma. And find ways to build your strength. Make space for someone who doesn't have the same opportunities as you. Focus on what is working right now and write a list of how you can show up differently. If you have a faith, take the time to be still and sit in its light. Read and listen to empowering messages of great leaders that have gone before. For the people we care about, for the children to come, and the world around us. Mother Teresa said, "I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples." So today I am casting a ripple of peace. Martin Luther King said, "Do not wait for leaders, do it alone, person to person." So I urge you, let's change the narrative. Moment by moment, day by day, let's stand for active peace.
I stand with the University of Surrey when they say we will not tolerate any forms of abuse. And so if you have experienced any forms of abuse and you'd like to speak to someone or make a report safely and anonymously, please go to my.surrey.ac.uk/report. Or if you'd like to speak to a member of the chaplaincy team or the Centre for Wellbeing, please do send us an email. We are here to support you.